I was little, I was obsessed with trying to get behind the wheel of a car and just starting to drive. But as it turns out, that might not even be a reality in the future. In 5 or 10 years, that might not even be a thing. Hold up, are self-driving cars even a thing? And how do they function? How do they work? And should we even care about them? Are they part of the future? The answer is sorta. Autonomous vehicles are the future. There's definitely no doubt about that. Zero, zilch, nada, nothing. But where the real issues or the real problems start coming into play is, how does an autonomous vehicle work? Are they the future? Are they safe? Do they really work? And are they an efficient alternative to human driving? With all of that, we'll discuss it. Hi, my name is Hamza, and let's talk autonomous vehicles. What is autonomy? Autonomy is when a car or a vehicle in general is able to detect its environment and act without any human influence by making its own independent decisions. This is done using AI, and for a more generalized overview of AI, I highly encourage you to check out some of the other videos that I'll be posting in the comments below. With that introduction out of the way, let's get into the 5 levels of autonomy, or 6 depending on who you talk to. So, number 0, and yes, 0 is a number, we're counting up by 0, remember that. This is where you'd find most old cars. So these would be cars from the 1980s to the 2000s. These have no assistance features whatsoever. So for example, if you wanted to think of some kind of assistance feature, that would be something like cruise control or automatic braking. Those features are not found on a level 0 car at all. And if you want to put that as a parallel to an example for all those non-drivers out there, then you could consider that a newborn baby. They can barely see and they can't take any independent action based off of those, based off of any sight that they can get or any senses that they can feel. So level 1 autonomy. This is where you start to see some more advanced features, but they aren't what's really considered autonomy. These are things like cruise control and automatic braking, and they're actually pretty popular and they're pretty commonplace among most cars today. If you have a modern car that's been made in like the last 20 years, it's probably on it. Things like cruise control, that's what I'm saying. So level 2 autonomy is where we start to see some more advanced features. This is where cars can actually do some things on their own in very confined environments. Like for example, they can go in stop and go traffic without any assistance by the driver, but the driver still has to maintain attention. This is where you see most cars like Teslas and Waymo vehicles and Uber autonomous driving. Level 3 automation is where we start to see some really good features. This is where you can take your hands off of the wheel and the car will just do its thing. But again, this is really in confined environments and not necessarily available anywhere. So when we get to level 4 automation, this is where we start to see some really cool features. This is what you basically expect. This is where you can basically let the car drive around, and in most environments, that's what it would do. It wouldn't have any problems whatsoever, and you could basically go to sleep. But there is still some there are still some cases where the driver would have to take over. Automation is where there's just basically full automation. If I want to compare this to the newborn that I was talking about a little while ago, this is where the child can basically walk around and do anything without any sort of help whatsoever. And comparing it back to cars, this is where you'd see no need for a steering wheel or brake pedals. The basics of automation and what it is. Now we can start going into how does this actually apply in vehicles. See, automation is basically just classification, and we have to see how manufacturers take that software and implement it on actual hardware. So let's get into that. So first up is LiDAR. LiDAR is essentially just taking lasers and spewing them in all directions in order to see how far they go before they bump into something. This is really good to get a pretty local idea of what's near the vehicle. Next up is sonar. Sonar is basically sending sound waves like bats and seeing how far they go before they hit something. Again, this is kind of like laser, except like LiDAR, except using sound. Also present is radar. Radar is really good for determining the velocity and angle at which things are coming or going. So this is really good to see something to say if a car was coming straight at you, or if you want to see if there are any incoming cars trying to change lane behind you. So this is also why radar is really important. But not least, there are cameras. Cameras are a really important part of this because of the way they can be applied using something called the CNN or convolutional neural network. Also, not the news network CNN, totally different thing. Basically what it does is uses an object detection method called YOLO, which is a separate video all in itself, and it's able to identify objects in real time and relay that information over to a computer so that way it can process it and take appropriate action. all of this hardware together basically allows the self-driving car or autonomous vehicle to do what it does. And using software that's optimized to make the most of those sensors, it's essentially how a self-driving car does it. And to be honest, it's really mind-blowing because I mean, like, it seems like I understate it, but it has so much potential for the future. And it's not even just cars. There are boats that can be automated. There are drones that can be automated. And if you think about if you think about the reach of all of these, it's really mind-blowing. For watching my video. I do hope that it helped you learn something new. If it did, please share down in the comments below. I do want to come out with more videos like this, so please let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, so I can improve in the future. Thanks.